All right.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, hey everyone. How you doing? It's another water cooler
Water
Wednesday.
Cooler Wednesday.
Yes. And so we're here today. We want to talk about spring. And is now the right time to sell your home, right? Because the flowers are about to come out and everybody's about to come out. So a lot of people talk about spring and selling your home, and so is spring the right time to sell your home? So today, myself and my co-hosts are going to share this information with you. Some questions that you should ask yourself. But first, my name is Dione Branch, and I am with Allure Dream Homes, brokered by EXP. And with me, I have my co-host, co-host Lisa. Lisa White with Nexa Mortgage.
All right. So, what we're talking about today should be very interesting um, because I think a lot of people they look to us for advice for how to make decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I think we probably should give them some questions that they can ask themselves. If you're a homeowner, what questions should you be asking yourself in order to determine if it is time for you to spring into selling? Is this your
Right.
time? Is this your season? What kind of questions should you be asking yourself? Um, the first thing, of course, that I think about would be finances. So, what do you think about that? Are there some kind of financial questions that they should be asking themselves?
Yeah, definitely. The first question is, can I afford the cost associated with selling my home? Right. So sometimes you have to have some repairs to your home, the cost of working with an agent. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I could just sell the house myself. I don't need to use an agent. But that doesn't benefit you by not working with the agent, because then you don't have the expertise of selling a home. So a lot of times you actually sell yourself short. So now the money that you could have gotten, you're not getting, right? So and then then last thing is like there's moving expenses. So there is some costs associated with actually selling your home, and you probably want to know more about it. And you can always talk to an agent that can help you determine that cost. Yeah. So another one is, do I have enough equity in my home to actually walk away with cash, or am I just going to break even? So that's really important, because if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to at least break even with we've already talked about there's some fees associated with selling your home. I even discussed like title costs, things like that, surveys. So besides just trying to pay off your previous mortgage, if you have a mortgage, so it's good to again have an agent come out, give you a market report, let you know what your property value is, and then we also discuss what's called a net sheet, right? So I can prepare you
A
a net.
net sheet? What is that?
Yeah, a net sheet is basically it's a report of basic your what your cost is to actually sell your home. So it'll
Okay.
include the commission, include your mortgage payoff. You also have to pay your taxes for the previous year, because taxes are always covered in arrears. So you still have
Yeah.
to cover those taxes. So we provide you a breakdown of that as well. all of the things that's included, title company fees, surveys. So the net sheet will have everything that's included in selling your home. It's an estimate, right? So it's not, it
Yeah.
won't be every, all fees or the actual cost, but it lets us know, okay, are we, kind of breaking even?
And some people actually, when they get to the end of that transaction, are surprised to see they either are not making any money or they may have a deficit. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah. I think a
yeah,
lot of times as buyers, this is something for buyers to keep in mind. The seller has a bottom line too. Sometimes buyers think the transaction is only being from their side, but just like you have, limited funds and things like that to go to a purchasing, the seller has to incur costs when they sell the house. They get it coming and going.
right. And so, and all of that, especially when you working with a seller that has a tight, is like a very close, just trying to break even, they cannot want to do repairs when after your home inspection. They might not
Yeah,
want to, right? They might not want to do repairs or give you a credit towards some of those repairs. So
right,
it's so as a buyer on you also, like Lisa said, you got to kind of consider the seller too. Sometimes a lot of people, that seller just don't want to do Johnny Baba,
right,
but
right.
it's
They
not
think they're just
always
being difficult, but they might be restricted. They may
right.
have, a limited amount that they're working with because of the cost that they have to incur.
Yeah, yeah. So you definitely, and those are definitely things that as a seller, that you need to keep in mind, and as a buyer, all sellers are not difficult. So yeah.
Okay, that's really good, Dion. What about so that's kind of like the financial part. What about I don't know. I guess like your actual housing needs, the size of your house or,
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
people outgrow their homes sometimes?
Oh, definitely. Is it, and that's one reason why people sell their homes. So you can be newlyweds or have a growing family, so you need to actually get a bigger house because all of a sudden
My
now.
baby kids then came.
Right, right. All the kids have come, and we don't have enough space for everybody, and we want to live comfortably. So we kind of a little tight. So that could be a reason why you want to sell your house, or you could be an empty nester, right? All the kids have gone away, and they it's just you're by yourself, or you and your husband, and you have this huge house with 5 bedrooms and stairs that you have to go up. Mind you, my stairs is 13 stairs upstairs and 13 stairs to the basement. Yeah. So I'm telling you, empty nesters,
Hilarious.
right, empty nesters want to sell their house too. Their house too. Wow. Those are
Okay.
definitely reasons why people consider, right? So you ask yourself, is my house too big? Is it time to sell? Because I may want a ranch style home, right?
Yeah, so I can quit going up them stairs.
Exactly. Right.
That's good. That makes sense. Um, so let me think. So can we talk a little bit about the actual timing? So like say if I already decided that my house is too small. I really want to get a bigger house. Um, and I'm financially able to do it. I got enough equity where it makes sense that I can sell the home and make a little bit off of it as well. How do I know for the market if it makes sense for the market itself? What, because we on the show, a lot of times we talk about, well, we're in this kind of market right now. We're in a seller's market, we're in the buyer's market, we're in the
Hmm.
neutral market. Like how do I know from a market perspective if it's the best time?
Right. So it's hard. It's difficult. A seller's market, definitely. If there's a seller's market and you're thinking about selling your home, You might not have to put in a lot of repairs to your house, and you might be able to sell it just as is,
That's
because
true.
there's a lot of people that are looking for houses, right?
Yeah.
And then, but you might be in a buyer's market. So now you have to really consider, how long do I want my property to sit on the market? And because I might not find somebody right away, but you might want to consider what are some things that you want to do in order to make sure that your house sells quickly,
Okay.
right? So that's when you might want to make sure that I have, you don't have to have a new kitchen, but you can have updated your kitchen to make it look, new and welcoming. You
Yeah.
right, you don't you've kind of done some repairs, you've done some improvements to make your house sell quicker. So the thing is, if you're in a buyer's market or even like a neutral market, you might want to consider, okay, is this house uh marketable, right? Is it, will people look at it and really want to buy this house? And so there's two, you make decisions at that time too. Am I selling towards investors, or am I selling towards first time home buyers, right?
Let me
So
think about that. That's a good point. Yeah.
uh, so if you're selling towards investors, you're okay with selling at a lower price, and so you're gonna sell it as is. Nothing is gonna be done to their house to for that sale. But you say, I want top market, I want that top price. Well, now, right, you need to do a little bit more work, and so all of that, so is included in the fact of, is this the right time to buy, right? First, I need to decide who is my target audience that I'm trying to
Okay.
sell this house to.
Okay. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So let's see. Do you think they should consider, interest rates and stuff when, they looking at, because I mean, I know you talked about a buyer's market and a seller's market. So should a home seller, a home owner be concerned about the interest rates?
Yes, yeah, because there's less buyers when the interest rate is higher. And so
Okay.
that, right, that's kind of determines, like, are you in a neutral market, or a buyer, or a buyer's market, right? I think that
Yeah.
kind of the interest rate goes along hand in hand with that a little bit.
Okay.
Because there's less buyers out here when the interest rate is higher. So now, and Lisa, you could tell me, like, there's a lot of thought that the interest rate is going to go lower, and everybody's been waiting. I'm waiting to buy until the interest rate goes up. So then what's going to happen is, now, we're going to have more buyers out there, and so
Yeah.
then it could become a seller's market.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about it, if I knew this, I wouldn't be on this show with you. I'd be somewhere where they pay me $1 million a year. So I could just tell y'all like, what's gonna happen with the market.
Right. Woo.
But I mean, like I have been experiencing some good pricing, but I'm a broker, so a lot of times we have our own little environment. So because we're able to charge less for things and able to get more competitive interest rates. Um,
Mhm.
the anticipation is that rates will kind of settle down a little bit for the summer because they still are trying to push home ownership because people buying houses still is tied to everything. Mortgage backed securities fuel the stock market, and
Yeah.
all of those things kind of end up tying together. So when they do these things with the rates and stuff like that, or things that impact our rates, because them changing the overnight rate doesn't necessarily impact our rate. But when rates do have some kind of impact where they're changed because of inflation, because of unemployment, a lot of other different economical factors, then what happens is that still has a fueling, with the economy itself. So the anticipation is that rates will actually decrease a little bit, but we don't think it's going to be by very much.
Yeah.
But I still go with and I didn't make up this saying, somebody else did, but I heard it and I liked it, which was to marry the house, but date the rate,
Right.
because we can always go back and refinance when the rates do come down. I can't promise you when they will, but I do know for a fact it's a law that what goes up must come down.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no truth. Right. So,
So it's
um,
going to come down at some point in time. I just don't know when. But if you find the house that you want, obviously don't miss out on the house. And we can tell that to buyers too, as our home owners are selling their homes. Let them know you can come in and get this house now because later on it may not be here.
right. And there's opportunities for programs where there's some, like maybe down payment assistance
Yeah.
programs where there's less people that's trying to get the programs at this time, because some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
programs are really good and they go really fast because there's so many people that's trying to get the programs. So
Get
there's
that the truth.
right. Right. So there's a lot of different, so it's a good time to buy when everybody else is not buying. So you
Right.
could definitely take advantage of a lot of the different programs that's out
Warren Buffett would agree with you, Dion.
there. Hey.
All right, so we doing it good. We chugging away. I think we got a lot of good questions already for people to use.
Mhm.
Um, so let's talk about some of the emotional stuff,
Yeah.
because I think we've seen it, in different transactions that people could be emotionally attached to the home. And
Yeah.
so, what do you think about that? What kind of questions should people ask themselves as far as that goes, as they making a decision? Because I think emotions play a really big part in the buying process as well as the selling process.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes a couple of different ways, right? So one thing, life circumstances do happen, and whereas death in the family, things like that, where, my home that I grew up in, should we keep it? Should we sell it? Because both parents are gone, and what are we going to do with it? And so a lot of times, a lot of people have to, address that, whether they should sell their parents' home, or hey, we tried it, we were married for a little while, but maybe we can't make it as a couple, so you have to get a divorce, right? So then what happens is, with in a divorce circumstance, a lot of times the judge may require you to sell your home, right? Because they've decided that you can't afford the home. Even, one person has to buy out the other person, and
Yeah,
so, right, and maybe that's not the case, right?
yeah.
Right, but another thing that I also get from people is, as sellers, is this is a house that I've raised my children in,
Oh,
and I so now I don't want I'm gonna sell my house, but I have so many memories here, and my house is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars because of my memories.
right. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So there's a lot of different things that happens, as for a seller, and this is where your realtor is here to kind of help you value your home. So the value of your home is based off of the market and nothing else, right? It's based off of the market and the condition of your home. So we could have a lot of them. Yeah, I grew up in this house, and my mom and dad, and so I've been here for a long time, but did they keep the house up? Was it well maintained? Did they, make any, improvements on the home?
Improvements.
Right, things like that. You know, that's what determines what the price of your house is. and then you decide whether, okay, am I okay with this price? Am I there for me to go ahead and sell?
And it's always better to have a third party do that. I mean, I think that's the beauty of what you do as a realtor. You can conduct a CMA, a comparative market analysis, and
Yeah.
then that analysis is it takes all the emotion out of it. So, it gives you a real number. I'm a numbers girl. So, the real number that you're actually working with. And then from having that number that you're actually working with, now you can make some real decisions because you understand exactly what's going on and what you're working with. So,
Hmm.
it's no emotion plays into that. I mean, you can still have your emotions, of course, but no emotions would be playing into the decision making and making a transaction more difficult. This is the benefit of having a realtor because they can kind of put things into perspective,
Right.
knowing about the market, knowing about the value, knowing about what's going on currently and what some realistic expectations are, and they can help because Dion is great with that.
Thank you.
You understand? She understand what's going on in the market, because of being out there. She out there in the real estate streets, y'all. So she can tell you, based on what she's seen with other transactions, and coordinating with colleagues and things like that. Because we, as professionals, we share information. Because we
Yeah.
all want to help each other grow, and also we want to know is what I'm experiencing normal. That's
Yeah.
another thing.
Right.
So
And
so we talk
and
to other
that's it.
people.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Because a lot of times, even as sellers, even on the buyer side, sometimes the buyer is emotional, into the purchase of the transaction too. Well, I don't
Yeah.
want to, I don't want to pay that much for the house. Well, why? Well, they only paid 200,000
Oh,
20 years ago, so I don't want to pay them 400,000, which is what the value of the house is, right?
yeah. Right.
So, on all ends, you have to determine this is what the market says that
Right.
the price of the home is, and so, no matter what they purchased it for, um, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Even as an investor might purchase a house for 120,000, but they put in the work in order to get the house to the value of 400,000. What
Right.
they
Yep.
purchased it for doesn't matter. And so,
Exactly. Yep. And I do think like after you get to the point where because I know we need to wrap up, but
yeah,
after you get to the point where you got through the emotions, and all the other things that we talked about, but then you also have to think about what are you going to do next?
yeah,
Where will you live next? Can you afford the next place that would like to be able to move into, the area that you want to be able to move into? Now, that would be something, of course, where you can talk to me because
hmm,
then that puts you on, more the buyer side. But
right,
it still is something that needs to play into your decision making as you decide whether or not to list because ultimately if you list and you do it right you're going to sell the house you
yeah,
know and then when that happens you'll need someplace else to go to. So I think that wrapping up, all the decision making, really you should be taking that into consideration too. Where am I going to go? What can I afford? What at least tell me I should focus on for taxes and, an area for, this is how much I can afford to buy, things like that. People need to think about stuff like that too, because you're not only going to be a home seller, but more than likely you're going to be a home buyer too.
right. And a lot of times when we're discussing whether you're selling your house, we're making this plan where I am connecting you with the lender, Lisa, to have that conversation with her. Are you able to get pre-approved? Can I purchase my house without selling my house first? So we have to discuss that plan. Can you purchase without selling first, or do you have to sell first and then purchase? And so once you speak to the lender and she determines that, that's how we have to know how to move forward. Because now, if you have to sell first, do I have to time your transaction whereas we've found a house, and you're able to move in? Or Can you go stay with some parents or, some friends or a hotel for a little while during this time while you're trying to find the new home? So, and it's very difficult to purchase a home contingent on the sale of
Yeah.
your home.
Especially
So
in the seller's market, right?
right, especially in the sales market. So what you have to do is we have to again time it correctly. Whereas we might put your property on the market for a while, you get you under contract, and now you have a contract, you've had an inspection on the sale of your home with the new buyer, everything is great. All we're waiting for them is to, finish their financing. Now you and I can go out and start looking for a house, but guess what? We gotta look aggressively because we have this time frame in order to right,
Right.
in
That's
order for
true.
right.
Hurry up in the
So
house. Hurry up, hurry up.
right. So now, we've been looking, gradually, but now it's time to actually be ready to put an offer. And then I
Yeah.
can put an offer saying, oh, it's contingent, but they are already throughout their whole transaction. We just want to close,
You just got to
at
sign
the
the
same time.
papers. Yeah.
Right. And that's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. This is great information. It was insightful. I learned a couple of things tonight because there are some aspects of home selling, like listing your home that I hadn't thought about. So that
Yeah.
was good. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we are so glad, we don't want to keep you long. We want to give you the information. Come in, come right back out. So this week we've accomplished our goals again. And if you're thinking about selling your home, give me a call. My name, Dione Branch, Lord Dream Homes. You could give me a call and we could talk. I could schedule a market analysis for you on your home. It doesn't mean you want to sell right now. We just can make a plan. We always talk about making a plan, right? And
Yes.
then, right? And if you are going to purchase, then you can speak to Lisa as well, and she helps you determine what your purchase power is for your next home. All right.
All
Well,
right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate you.
thank you. Bye.
Have a good night. Okay, put that in there.